How bad is it?
It's deep. Swollen.
It began with a rumor. A desert guide had returned from a solo trek across the southern dunes of the Kalahari, claiming he'd seen something impossible, a lion, wandering aimlessly in the salt flats, miles from the nearest grassland. No pride, no shade, no water. Just a single male lion, walking in circles beneath the shimmering heat. Ranger Naima Kazadi furrowed her brow as she read the report. A lion? Out there, she said aloud, pointing to the circled location on the satellite map. That's over 40 kilometers from the nearest savanna. Her partner, Joseph Weller, a desert specialist with a knack for reading sand like a book, leaned in. Lions don't go that far unless something's wrong. Or unless they're chasing a mirage. Within hours, they'd packed up their modified land cruiser, reinforced suspension, emergency water tanks, and a thermal drone, and began the long, blistering journey into the flats. Temperatures reached 47 degrees Celsius by midday, and the horizon shimmered with illusions. But this was no illusion. By sunset, they found the tracks. Huge paw prints etched into the white-crusted sand, weaving, doubling back, sometimes dragging. Nearby, tufts of golden fur stuck to a low thorn bush. A few drops of dried blood. The pattern was erratic, confused. Then, as twilight deepened, the drone picked up a heat signature, faint, but real. Something large, warm, lying motionless beneath a cluster of dry shrubs. They approached slowly, headlights dimmed. There he was, a young male lion, gaunt and dehydrated, one eye swollen shut, a nasty gash across his shoulder. He tried to rise, then collapsed. His breath came in shallow gasps. Something spooked him badly, Naima murmured. Look at the direction of the wounds, they're not from a fight with another lion. Joseph nodded. Looks like he fell. Tumbled down from somewhere. That's when they noticed the cliff. Not far from where the lion lay, a jagged sandstone ridge rose sharply from the otherwise flat expanse. From the top, one could see for miles, including the glimmer of the water mirages below. Perhaps the lion had climbed it chasing the illusion of water. And then fallen. He must have wandered for days, confused, half-blinded, and in pain. Naima worked fast. She darted the lion with a tranquilizer, and together they lifted him onto a stretcher mat with cooling gel packs to stabilize his body temperature. We'll call him Mirage, Joseph said softly, stroking the matted fur. Back at the reserve hospital, Mirage's condition worsened before it improved. His dehydration had caused kidney strain. The gash on his shoulder was infected, and his vision in the injured eye was questionable. But what amazed the team most wasn't just his will to survive, it was the GPS microchip embedded behind his ear. Naima scanned it. Registered, in Botswana, she blinked. He was part of a rewilding experiment across the border. He must have wandered hundreds of kilometers south. How he'd crossed that much territory, undetected and alone, was a mystery. But there was more. Footage from the thermal drone showed something odd, a second heat signature, following Mirage's tracks from a distance. A smaller one. A week later, after Mirage was stable enough, Joseph and Naima returned to the flats to investigate. What they found was astonishing. A striped jackal, limping, wounded, but alert. It had followed the lion for miles, scavenging his abandoned kills, resting where Mirage had rested. But this jackal wasn't a threat, it had stayed close, almost like a shadow. Incredibly, they found images from a local motion-triggered camera showing the jackal licking the lion's wounds. Unusual, even unheard of. Joseph stared at the footage. That's not just scavenging. That's companionship. Back at the facility, Mirage slowly regained strength. He would likely remain half-blind for life, but he adapted. And when he was moved to a larger rehabilitation area, Naima made a decision. They brought the jackal, now named Flicker, and released him into the neighboring enclosure. Mirage perked up immediately. The two approached the fence. No growls. No tension. Just stillness. Recognition. Eventually, the barrier was lifted. Under watchful eyes, Mirage and Flicker roamed the open terrain together, a lion and a jackal, bound by survival, reunited far from the shimmering illusions of the desert. But the story didn't end there. Weeks passed. Mirage grew stronger, his mane thicker, his pace more confident. He patrolled his enclosure like a king regaining his crown. Flicker remained near, never too close, never too far, a companion who knew when to keep distance and when to stay near. One evening, during a routine check, Joseph noticed something odd. Mirage was pacing along the fence, focused on the horizon. He was tense, not aggressive, but expectant. A second later, a roar split the air. Far beyond the reserve, near the edge of the rocky foothills, the call echoed again. Another lion. They scanned the perimeter and found tracks, fresh ones. Not mirages. The reserve wasn't enclosed on all sides. Some parts merged with the protected Kalahari landscape. It was possible, though rare, for wild lions to wander in. Over the next few days, Mirage grew more animated. He scratched trees, rolled in the dust, roared at sunset. Flicker followed at a safe distance, cautious. Then, on the fifth morning, she appeared. A lioness. Lean, with a small scar above her left eye. She stood beyond the outer rocks, watching. The team stayed back, silent, monitoring. Mirage approached slowly, cautiously. She didn't retreat. Their interaction was subtle, nuzzling, then a pause. Mirage lowered his head. The lioness sniffed his injured eye. Then, she licked his face once, and lay down. Naima's voice cracked through the radio. They know each other. She must have been part of his original pride. Joseph nodded. She followed his scent all this way. For a few days, the two lions remained near the border zone. The reserve staff allowed limited interaction, then opened the gate fully to let the lioness in. Flicker was nervous but never far. Mirage now had two companions, one of his own kind, and one he found in the harshest place on Earth. The trio became a legend in the region, the lion who survived the flats, the jackal who followed him, and the lioness who refused to forget. One morning, Naima found the three huddled near the east trees, Mirage asleep under the shade, the lioness pressed against him, and Flicker curled nearby like a sentry. Not once did any of them stir at her approach. It was peace, not the kind written in reports, but the kind forged in dust, blood, and blind faith. And somewhere beyond the dunes, the desert kept its silence, as if guarding the secret of how one lion, chasing the illusion of water, found something far more unexpected. In a world full of mirages, they found something real. Dear friend, thank you so much for watching our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel.